Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started now. Jiya ma'am, all set, shall we? It's 7:35. I think we'll get started and people can join in.
Yes, sir.
That's okay. Yeah. Yes. So today we are we have session by Jiya, Khatri ma'am. The session is on career in psychology. It's part of the career guidance series organized by Pune Management Association. This is our sixth session in a series. Will be for about 1 hour starting now. To begin with, I'll just take you through a brief presentation about Pune Management Association. So this is the organization established in 1977 with the numbers that we can see on the screen in terms of members, beneficiaries, and collaborations. So the primary goal was to, and still is to promote management education, but management also includes management practice. So all the small, medium scale companies and multiple streams that are included now. With respect to knowledge sharing, skill enhancement, and best practices in the field. So this comprises of members who are practitioners, entrepreneurs, freelancers, trainers, also from education, who have come together for this cause to help each other and also the next generation. There are various members who are part of the committee. There is one committee at the executive committee, and then there are centers of excellence in various domains and fields. And each of these centers are led by professionals coming from different backgrounds. This organization works with institutes, academic institutes like colleges and various departments for knowledge sharing and also helping students primarily and also faculty members with their learning goals. Then there are collaborations with other organizations. On the website of PMA, the newly launched one, you can see all the upcoming programs or also list of previous programs. And this is open for membership, right from students or researchers to individuals or professionals, and there is corporate or institute membership option also, those who wish to join this group. And this contact details are also available on the website for all of us to refer to. With this brief, I think we'll get started with the session now. So we have with us Jiya, Khatri ma'am. I'll briefly tell you about her background so that we have idea about who she is and what all points you can share with us. Feel free to ask your questions and queries throughout the session. There's no need to wait until question and answers part as such. She has experience of 10 plus years in counseling, also good number of years in corporate training and teaching. She has academic background as well. And she has helped several individuals with respect to professional counseling and therapy, like child and family therapy and career counseling related help provided to around 600 individuals so far. And she has also trained professionals with working with MNCs and small businesses, around 30 such companies and also 500 such working professionals. And given her academic background, I think she was also heading the Department of Psychology at Vishwakarma University at some point. With that, she understands the diversity of possible pathways that one can explore within the field of psychology, and also how to prepare for alternate career options that are available. And I think in the process we'll get to know how we use better understanding of psychology for whatever we do in life. I think that is one of the takeaways personally for me in the entire process. So over to you, Jiya ma'am. You can share your presentation and get started.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the warm welcome. And I can see limited number of participants today. So what I would want from them is that I can see Mr. Pradeep, I can see Prachi, I can see Neelam, Alok, and I think Pradeep left. Okay, so I can see Neelam, Alok, Prachi, and Shilpi, and Amolsa and myself. Yeah, so is it possible for you all to switch on your cameras for like a few minutes? Mr. Alok, is it possible for you? Ms. Prachi, is it possible for you? And Neelam, is it possible for you as well?
Ma'am, there is some network issue, so buffering will start as soon as I start the video.
Okay, so I think
Hello.
Neelam ma'am has switched on her camera. Hello. Prachi, what about you? Shilpi ma'am, is it possible for you to switch on your camera for a few minutes?
Ma'am, I'm out. Sorry, I'm out right now, so I'm just taking the call.
So fine, then I'll take Neelam ma'am and Amol sir, because Prachi has not switched on her camera. Okay, so what I want you both to do, okay? I want you to take both your hands and place them in front of you. Okay, simple. Then I want you to move your right hand clockwise. Right hand clockwise. Not a big round, just small rounds. Okay, Neelam ma'am, small round. Okay, small round. Correct. Stop. And the left hand anti-clockwise. Correct. Absolutely right. Wonderful. See, both of you are doing it perfectly. Okay, stop. Yeah. Now I want you both to do it together. Clockwise and anti-clockwise. No, no, no. Come on, sir. Come on, sir. Come on, you can do it, sir. Yes, you're trying it perfectly.
I might just punch my laptop screen a bit.
Yeah. Neelam ma'am is going roly-poly. No. Clockwise, anti-clockwise. Clockwise, anti-clockwise. No, sir. No. No. Okay. No.
We'll practice this for a year or so, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So what we just did was actually a cognition activity. You do this regularly, your left brain and right brain will coordinate far better. The central brain integration will happen. Okay. And how do we know this? We know this through psychology. Yes, many a times we always assume that psychology is about behavior, it's about reading minds. And you hear a lot of people telling you, the moment you tell someone that you belong to psychology, you know, people get a little fascinated by it, or you'll get people tell you, oh, so you can read minds, so tell me what I'm thinking, you know, things like that. But what usually happens is that psychology is far more than that. And let us just go through the PPT and understand it, because we're very few people. I think we can go through it probably in a different way and more interactive way. So if you all are comfortable, go ahead and just talk to me and ask me questions and things like that. So, you know, if you look at it, when you complete your engineering, you become an engineer. Okay, but when you complete your psychology, you become a lot of things. Okay, so there are a lot of options open for you, from psychology to social work, counselor, therapist, educational specialist, researcher, life coach. You know, life coach is trending now. So now one of the most trending careers in the world, in the top 10 careers, you will see life coach as a part of it, because people are making a good amount of money, they are making a lot of name, and they are improving lives at the same time. Okay, so life coach is trending in the top 10 careers in the world at the moment. You have corporate trainers. Of course, we know that corporate training has been like a big thing for the past decade. You know, it has really changed the way corporates would function. There's sports psychology that's trending now, from Virat Kohli to all the cricketers. They all have personal sports psychologists nowadays for many, many fields. So that's something that's trending. Then there is health and nutrition. So health and nutrition psychologist is something that people don't know much about. It's just coming up. There are a lot of fields that psychology offers. So when you talk about psychology, I think I should just move my. Psychology is a study of human behavior. It is, but it is not mind reading. A lot of people feel it's mind reading. No, it's not mind reading. Nor can a psychologist like just spin a magic wand and solve all your problems. So a lot of people feel that psychologists can solve all your problems. That's one. And second, they think you can read mind. So both are myths. Psychology is basically a study of human behavior. And psychologists, they don't only study human behavior, they study thoughts and feelings. So they majorly work with thoughts and feelings. There are lots of specializations in psychology, which we're going to talk about. And they help people face challenges like, trouble, those people who have trouble adjusting to their daily life, or relationship issues, work stress, confidence issues, a lot of such things. Where do psychologists basically work? Psychologists can work in a lot of institutions, ranging from hospitals to corporates to schools, colleges, universities, mental health centers, and they also have their own practice. So a lot of places they have psychologists nowadays. You'll notice that corporate offices, they have their own psychologists in the team, because they don't want people to actually be trouble looking for a counselor or a therapist outside. They provide it as an in-house facility, and it really helps them, because a psychologist can work in a corporate in many, many dimensions. So when you talk about the workplace of a psychologist, like, the world is the playground. Wherever they want, they can make a space for them, because whenever you talk about human life, psychology can fit in there. Wherever you talk about human life, in fact, psychology is also used on animals. Okay, so I can't specifically say human lives. Even in the field of, basically, when we talk about living things, you can involve psychology in it. In fact, initially, when psychology as a field was recognized, most experiments were done on animals only. Okay, so if you'll ever go through the research, it was all animal experiments and things like that. So whichever field you want, you will notice that a psychologist can fit in. Now comes to the point where when you look at it as a field, what is your pathway? How would you reach there? A lot of people feel that when you take science, you can't take psychology, or for psychology, you need art specifically, and that's not true. Okay, so you can take psychology from two steps. Okay, there are two pathways. One pathway is the science stream, and the second pathway is the arts stream. What is the difference between science and arts? The nature of the subject. Okay, like the nature of the subject. When you pick it up from science stream, it's very scientific in nature. You will notice that it's very technical, it's very biological in nature, if you look at it from the science perspective. But when you look at it from the arts perspective, it's more focused on emotion. It's more from the point of view of not looking at the subject only technically, but in a more humanistic way. So the approach of science and arts is different. You like biology, you are interested in technical aspects, you can look at the science stream. If you're looking at the more humanistic approach, you will look at the arts stream. So when the science stream helps you to understand the physiological side of human behavior, art deals with the human society and the social construct. You will notice that as a society we function. So psychology is also related to sociology. And so from that perspective, these two subjects become different. When you want to take arts, you will usually want to take a BA and then go in for an MA. But always remember that if you know that you're looking forward to psychology even one bit, then 11th and 12th, if you have the option of psychology, you must pick it up. In fact, any student who has the opportunity of picking up psychology in 11th and 12th must pick it up, because that helps the student to understand life in a better way. So if that opportunity is present in front of a student, 11th and 12th, go ahead and pick up psychology as an optional subject. Nowadays you have a combination of subjects. Even though you want to take the commerce stream, you're allowed to pick and choose 1-2 odd subjects, and psychology is usually offered. But kids don't find it, they want more scoring or easier subjects, so they then just move on to computers or things like that. If it is an option, you must go in for it. And of course, when you pursue BA, if you're very sure of psychology, you must pursue it in the honors program. What happens in the honors program is you get an in-depth knowledge. So a BA with a major in psychology or an honors program in psychology, anything can be helpful to help you understand how psychology can improve your quality of work later on, and not just to complete the bachelor's degree. So that's one where you take a BSc or a BA in psychology. And then you move to an MA in psychology or an MSc in psychology. So an MA in psychology is a 2-year course, and an MSc in psychology is again a 2-year course. I've mentioned a few colleges, like Sri Ram College, Ferguson College. These are very good. St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. They are very good colleges for psychology in MA. And then when you talk about MSc, Christ College, offers it, and Bethune College offers it. So that's something that you can look forward to. Most psychologists who want to practice, who want to have like like a very, very solid background, they usually go in for a PhD. They would go in for MPhil, but the mode is changing drastically. So MPhil is something that people are not looking at. They're looking at PhD now, and they spend at least around 5 years doing their PhD and specializing. There are many courses, from human development to historical psychology to social influence, that is covered in various programs. And you can look at the topics before even enrolling for a course. You can go through the syllabus. It gives you a beautiful view about what the subject is going to teach you. So when you look at the specializations, there are 3 major specializations: clinical, counseling, and industrial. Yeah, clinical, counseling, and industrial. The names are very explanatory, and these are the traditional specializations. Actually, traditionally, there were 2, clinical and industrial. Counseling is something that's come up a few years back, and these 3 have become the traditional specializations in psychology. Clinical, of course, it will deal with the clinical aspect of psychology. That means disorders, diseases, and all the diagnosis aspect. When someone really has an issue, in terms to explain to you, and in a very scientific term that is not used today anymore, but in the subject it is still used. Okay, a lot of abnormal would fit into clinical. Okay, a lot of abnormal would fit into clinical. Why am I easily using this word? Is because there's literally a subject which is called abnormal psychology. So hence I can go ahead and probably touch upon it, though the word abnormal is not being used anymore because of psychologists, and it's used in the outside world. But the clinical aspect teaches you more from the point of view of disorders, teaches you more from the point of view of diseases and diagnosis. Yes. When you come to counseling, okay, when you talk about a counseling psychologist helps you with day-to-day issues, family issues, work issues, relationship issues, career counseling, and improvement of your confidence. So the various small issues or the hiccups that you have on day-to-day basis, and you can't deal with them. It's not pathological. It's still not affecting you, your functionality is not being affected, you can go to a counseling psychologist. So that field is specifically for counseling. And the next one is industrial counseling. Industrial psychology basically is related to organizational counseling, basically related to improvement of the employee performance. It's everything to do with the corporate world, helping them to have a good work-life balance, helping them improve their communication skills, improving teamwork. A lot of psychologists work with corporates just so that the team performance improves. About a good 50 years back, the emphasis was only on IQ, only IQ. But in the last 20, 25 years, yeah, exactly. In the last 20, 25 years, there's a lot that's been done in emotional quotient. Intelligence quotient has been slightly derailed, and emotional quotient is being spoken of. Okay, emotional quotient is being spoken of. So people talk about how emotional intelligence is important at workplace, how even if you're not book smart, you need to be street smart, you need to be people smart. So these discussions are happening. They're happening in the corporate world. They realize that someone only with an IQ and only with good marks doesn't survive. He needs to have additional skills. He needs to have additional qualities. And so EQ has come into the picture. And people have realized that even though emotional quotient is important, it's also so if you look at the corporates today, when they have a hiring team, they look at the social quotient of an individual. How this individual can become a part of the organization and be able to give to the organization what the organization requires. So that all falls under the industrial aspect. This is also absolutely trending. So there's no doubt about any one of them being outdated today. All the three fields are trending, but there are far more interesting fields and niches that have come up. So there are niches like, as I told you, sports psychology, nutrition psychology, and forensic psychology. Forensic psychology is also trending a lot. It comes from the master's degree in science, and it aids criminology or criminal psychology. Okay, so these are the two subjects that forensic psychology aids, and is getting a lot of vogue now. This is a good time to look at that field as well. So basically, this is the global scenario and this is the Indian scenario. The world outside of India has completely accepted the field of psychology, and you'll find a lot of therapists available, and you'll see a lot of psychologists already working. But in India, it's just starting to trend. It's just starting to trend. It's a new field. People are already there in the field, but it's not completely crowded. It's just starting to trend. The trend is just starting, but because of the population in the country, the moment you say it's just starting to trend, it's all complete. What do you need other than just the degree to be a psychologist? What you need is good communication skills, advanced empathy, introspection and intrapersonal skills, logical analysis, research skills, soft skills, and emotional stability. Why do you need so much? Is because this is a field where you invest in a person. When you train someone, when you talk to someone, when you help someone, you're emotionally investing in a person. And so when you are doing all this, you need to be able to do it correctly. Being a therapist is very different from being that aunt who helps you every time. It's very different. We always feel that, oh, I have a good friend who will help me. That's different. Being a therapist is different. You have to know to attach to someone, then detach from someone. You have to know that when someone has, downloaded everything on you, then you need to unload it for the next, before the next client even walks in. Yeah, so you have to really be very, very alert about what skills you have. Your communication has to be apt, because every word you say is weighed by the client. The client might take every word you say very seriously. So your communication has to be at its best. Advanced empathy, to be able to understand absolutely what the client is feeling, because that is the whole process. Okay, when you will be able to invest in the client, only then the client will start being, you notice changes in the client, and the client will start feeling better. Introspection and intrapersonal skills. Introspection and intrapersonal, what does it mean? Introspection means to look within, and intrapersonal is how good you are with yourself. Now, why do you need these skills when you're dealing with people? Is because even though you're trying to help the world, you're trying to change the world, you're making the world a better place, the focus has to be you. That change has to start with you. So only when you're able to help yourself and work with yourself can you help any small little being on earth. Yes, so introspection is very important. Intrapersonal skills are very important. Of course, you need logical analysis, because a lot of theories are taught. A lot of theories are taught. And then which theory to apply to which client in which way, and how to help that client, that's all logical analysis. Of course, research skills, like any other field, there's extensive research in psychology. Soft skills, because you need to know that when you talk about your personality, all the soft skills are at play. And emotional stability. This is one of the most difficult parts. Okay, being emotionally stable, because your emotions, they have an impact on your work. This is like directly correlated. Do you know that surgeons are given a choice before they go to operate if their emotional stability is not there? Okay, they're always asked if they're emotionally stable before they enter a major surgery, even a minor surgery. Actually, they're always asked if they are emotionally fine, mentally fine, and only then they ask to step into the surgery. Is because your emotional stability has a direct impact on your work and your performance, especially in the field of psychology. So, pursuing psychology in India versus pursuing psychology abroad. See, study abroad is trending. A lot of kids go abroad to study, but they don't know what the actual scenario is. Like, a lot of kids don't even know whatever is trending. They see some new, university, and they hear about it. Their friends are enrolling, so even they decide to go. Yeah. How much worth it is for you is your decision. Okay. So when you talk about India, there are a lot of good universities, especially the government universities. There are very, very good universities, including Pune University, Delhi University, Aligarh University, Christ University, fees ranging from 15,000. Of course, there are universities that have been privatized now, from Amity to Vishwakarma, and a lot many more. Fees ranging somewhere from 15,000 to about 1,25,000 max. Usually the fees doesn't cross this. I'm talking about per year. Okay. And when you talk about universities abroad, you can get it done from Princeton. Princeton is very famous. Of course, you have Stanford, but very difficult to crack. Yeah. Then there's Pennsylvania University. Fees ranging somewhere around 15 lakhs per year to 25 lakhs per year. And that makes a lot of difference. Yeah. So usually you start getting paid in a very, very limited way. You start getting paid from roughly about 15,000 when you're an intern. And then once your work is good, once your quality is good, then you notice that there's an upscale in your income from 15,000 to, there are corporate trainers who literally earn like a lakh per session. So there's no doubt about that. That's known to all, literally. So there's no upper limit if you have your skills, abilities, and performance. But usually the beginning is a little humble in nature. And that's because there's still lack of awareness, and it's setting in. And as I told you, the market is growing. So that's what you usually get paid. And how do you get to the top of your game? Is by additional certifications, internships, updated with the latest trends, extensive reading, because that's a must when you want to do psychology, online courses. You have to enjoy the subject. If you find the subject boring, the subject is not for you. Yeah. And definitely you have to start helping yourself. So when you talk about additional certification, you have like 100 kids in your class doing BA in psychology. What makes you different? An additional certification. Lot of small courses that trend for psychologists, like from NLP is trending, or cognitive behavior therapy is trending, so or REBT is trending. So these certifications help and they add on, they improve you. Internships with psychologists, they don't allow you to intern. That is the biggest problem in psychology. They will call it an internship, but they will not let you be in the room. That's never allowed. Yes. uh, Most people who don't belong to the field of psychology don't know that internships in psychology are very restricted. A psychologist will never allow you to come and sit in the room while that psychologist is addressing the client. That will never happen. Okay, so if you get an opportunity, you must use it. If you get recordings, you get videos on that's what they usually do in internships. They give you like a transcript, or they give you like a recording, or they give you like a video of the internship, so that you understand it better. I've already told you that extensive reading, starting even from self-help books, is okay, to moving on to basics of psychology, but you have to have the habit of being updated with what's going on in the world. And yeah, a lot of online courses. So how does a day in a psychologist's life look like? Most of the times people feel that they're just, with a client after client after client, but that's not true. A psychologist, as I told you, has to work on himself, so has to be able to deal with a lot of things that are going on in his or her own life, so that they can be the person they want to be in the therapy session. That's one. So if you look at a psychologist's day, usually it might start with a few interactions with clients. A lot of psychologists teach psychology. A lot of psychologists, they hold internship programs. So in these internship programs, they give them an overview of what can happen in the session, but they never let the student be in the session. Okay, so they hold internship programs, they teach, they have a corporate day, corporate sector trainings. And one thing that a lot of psychologists do is have a very good solid community. They have a very, very solid community, because what do I mean by that is that the psychology community is very, very strong. um, Psychologists support each other, they help each other. So they have regular meetings, and they have updates, they have training programs, because it's a field where you need a lot of connection. I'm not talking about network, okay? I'm talking about uh, an emotional connection, okay? Because only a psychologist will be able to understand what the other psychologist is actually going through. So that connection comes into picture, and a lot of uh, help is provided through these platforms. So trainings for psychologists are something that are very common, that happen in like the pathway of a psychologist's life. So yeah, I think we're done. I've covered up most aspects, and I know I speeded it up a little, but I was assuming that because the number is less and I can, like focus on important points, I just decided that let me take that call and move as per the speed that, can be managed, because we were limited in number.
Yes, so we
Yeah.
can take questions now. Thank you, Jiya ma'am. Any questions? Anybody? कुछ पूछना है किसी को?
Hello.
Yes, Prachi.
Ma'am,
Yes, Prachi.
I wanted to ask that if we don't take psychology in 11th and 12th, then can we still take it after 12th?
Yes, actually, if you don't take psychology in 11th and 12th, you can still take psychology in arts. Okay, if you go ahead in arts, you can take it. Usually, a BSc program gives preference to psychology students. But if you're going in for a BA in psychology, that is very much possible. You can move from 11th, 12th science to BA in psychology. You can move from commerce to psychology. And if you've taken arts, sometimes there are some colleges that don't provide 11th, 12th psychology, even if you have taken 11th, 12th arts. So that's actually perfectly all right to move to psychology and do a BA in psychology if you have not taken psychology before that. You will still get admission.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good.
There's no restriction. There's a preference.
मैं
Yes, please.
मैम मुझे एक बात पूछनी थी कि अगर बैचलर मेरा साइकोलॉजी में नहीं है लेकिन मास्टर में मुझे साइकोलॉजी में कर रही हूँ तो सिलेबस में क्या डिफरेंस रहता है, मतलब वो इम्पैक्ट करता है क्या? बैचलर का जो सिलेबस है वो मास्टर के लिए कर सकते हैं, मतलब को रिलेटेड है या हम थ्रूली एमए साइकोलॉजी भी कर सकते हैं?
मैम यूजुअली आपको यूनिवर्सिटीज या कॉलेजेस एमए में एडमिशन नहीं देते हैं, पर अगर वो देते हैं आपको एमए में एडमिशन तो जो गैप है वो आपको खुद फुलफिल करना पड़ता है एक्स्ट्रा रीडिंग के जरिए, क्योंकि बहुत सारे सब्जेक्ट्स होते हैं जैसे कि सोशल साइकोलॉजी, डेवलपमेंटल साइकोलॉजी, जो मास्टर्स में नहीं पढ़ाए जाते, वो पढ़ाए ही नहीं जाते. So you will have to skip on the entire subject, and the subjects are beautiful. So if you're very interested in psychology, then you should do self-reading and you should take the syllabus and start studying the syllabus on your own. If you don't have a BA in psychology, what happens is that BA gives you a good base. It gives you a very good base. And if you have directly gone to masters, then you should form your own base and you shouldn't only depend on masters.
Okay.
If you're only depending on masters, your knowledge will be like little incomplete.
ओके, बट मैम अगर फिर भी एमए का जो साइकोलॉजिकल सिलेबस है वो कोप अप किया 1 मिनट, तो आगे चलकर कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता है ना? एज अ काउंसलर हम काम कर सकते हैं.
If you're talking about it from the point of view of certification or from the point of view of the degree or anything, आपको कुछ दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, पर आपको खुद के नॉलेज के लिए कनेक्शन बनाने के लिए वो बीए का सिलेबस का आइडिया होना चाहिए.
ओके.
क्योंकि अगर जैसे आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल मैम, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल डेवलपमेंटल साइकोलॉजी एमए में नहीं पढ़ाया जाता है, सिर्फ बीए में पढ़ाया जाता है. तो डेवलपमेंटल साइकोलॉजी में आपको ये सिखाते हैं कि हर एज में एग्जैक्टली क्या होता है फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ फिजिकल चेंजेस, बायोलॉजिकल चेंजेस, इमोशनल चेंजेस, साइकोलॉजिकल चेंजेस. हर इट्स अ फैक्ट बुक. मैं आपको एक सेंटेंस में बता रही हूँ, पर इट्स अ फैक्ट very fat book. Okay, so how will you know all that when you don't even know that the subject exists? Correct? So for that, self reading can be very helpful. पर आपको सर्टिफिकेशन में या फिर प्रैक्टिस में कुछ दिक्कत नहीं है.
ओके, थैंक यू मैम.
ओके मैम.
Jiya, can I?
Yes, please.
I have a little. So first of all, a really beautiful session, especially what you started with the hands. I'm sorry I could not do it because I was out.
Thank you.
And I've been a student of psychology myself. I've done my bachelor's in psychology. I could not pursue it further. I got into the insurance field, but I mean, it's a subject that obviously intrigues me, and that's why I made it a point to attend your session. So my question is not basically related to career, but you spoke a bit about emotional quotient and IQ earlier in your presentation, and with reference to I mean, I have kids, obviously, and
Yeah.
that thing always keeps coming up. So I just like want to understand from a kid's perspective that how is it that a parent can balance between EQ, IQ, and what we can in short, if you can just as a tip which can help us in parenting mainly.
So yeah, this is completely parenting. Yeah, and before I open my mouth after this, you have to know that I do make mistakes as a parent. Yeah. So
Sure.
now the few things that we can keep in mind as a parent, one being able, this is specifically for the Indian subcontinent. Yeah, if we belong to the Indian subcontinent, we have to know that our children are not an extension of us. Our children are not an extension of us. We belong to an Indian subcontinent. There's something called as cultural psychology. Okay, if you look at cultural psychology, we belong to the Indian subcontinent, regardless of whichever religion you belong to or whichever community you belong to. If you fall under that Indian subcontinent, it's a belief that falls into our system very naturally, that a child is an extension of us. So if you've noticed that when the child does something good and you feel very proud of it, that means you believe that the child is an extension of you. When the child does something wrong and you believe that now you are, you're ashamed about it. Okay, that means you believe that the child is an extension of you. These are small ways to know that the child is an extension of you or not. Okay, one thing is that when you divide and create a gap between yourself and the child, and you treat that child as an individual, okay, that makes a lot of difference. So that's one. Second is that when you talk about an emotional quotient, very very small things, like if you've ever asked your child how was your day at school, you expect the child to give you a summary of all the things that happened. Expect the child to tell you how he emotionally felt throughout the day.
True.
So if you ask the child a question that what was the fun thing that happened today, or what was the sad thing that happened today, or how did you feel in school today, that's something that probably we usually don't think of. Like it's more of like, tell me what happened in school. So it's not factual in nature, right? It's not emotional in nature. And letting the child also know that this can be something important, like me feeling sad when teacher didn't look at me can be important to the child, but for that the parent has to feel it important. See,
I've
just
started practicing that, Jiya ma'am.
yeah,
So I would ask Gargi sometimes, not always. I think we need to
yeah,
work on further. My daughter's name is Gargi, so I would ask her like, what was the happiest moment of the day, kinds.
yeah,
Then tell me something, or something that she felt not so good about,
yeah,
and then she has a story,
yeah,
and she will just narrate her experience, kinds. Good.
yeah, yeah, that's very true. Also when you talk about parenting, it's a very tough journey. Sometimes as a parent, knowing that it's okay, it's okay to mess up, it's okay to get upset, it's okay to make mistakes in your parenting journey. The only thing is that you should be able to reflect, especially as mothers, because as mothers, uh, there's something known as a mother's guilt if you're a working mother. So that plays a little more in mothers compared to fathers. I don't say that fathers might not feel it, but because it's something that a working mother feels, we have to know that sometimes it's okay to make mistakes. One thing that is always very hands-on, something that I learned from a psychologist from UK. She told me to spend. She told me, no, she told us, because it was a workshop, to spend good amount of time with the child. Now, what is the meaning of this good amount of time? It doesn't mean that you sit and you talk to the kya hua, tell me something, tell me something. some kids, they don't like to talk. Okay, some kids talk on their own. You don't even need to ask them a question. Yeah, they're just there, they're chatty. Yeah. So she taught us 3 techniques. Okay. The first technique is like just sit in front of the child and let the child speak whatever he or she wants, like face to face. Okay, you don't say anything. You'll notice that the child starts there'll be like some input, right? So that's one, like sit face to face with the child. Okay. Next, she said, sit next to the child. Just sit next to the child. And you'll notice that there'll be a different conversation from the child's point of view. Like when you make eye contact with the child will be telling you events. Okay. When you sit next to the child will start talking to you about emotion. It is, like when she discussed this point, it was so surprising. Now you notice that if you're driving somewhere in a car, okay, and you sit next to that person and you start talking, you will notice that if you're talking generally, you'll talk life, you'll talk about how some beautiful days were. It will be more emotions related, okay. And the last that she told us was hold hands with the child. Hold hands with the child. Just hold the hand and sit. You don't have to, in all 3 scenarios, you don't have to do any kind of talking. Yeah. So when you hold the child's hand and sit, you will notice that sometimes the child is quiet but feeling very comfortable about you holding the hand. It's a different kind of strength that the child feels, or the child feels a connection. Yeah. So I do feel that these 3 techniques that she taught us are very effective. They are very effective, very difficult to practice because every day, like making time in the routine or like just being around the child and doing this. Sometimes sometimes the child wonders what's wrong with you. It's okay. It's completely okay because the child is not used to you sitting next to him or holding his hand. It's okay. Yeah.
I experienced that yesterday.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
asked me, are you okay?
Yeah.
Good.
No,
Hello,
I think
Ji?
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that thank you so much. I think those were really beautiful tips, and I love the way you talk, and there's a lot of I think things that we can learn from you, and I would look forward to meeting you personally. But thank you so much for those tips. I think making time for kids is really difficult, but I think it's important. I mean, in the long run, it
Just
should
a
be done.
little time. They don't need a lot. Sometimes if they need a lot of time. No, they don't like it. They just need very little time.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alok Ji, any questions you have?
Yeah.
हेलो आप आपको कुछ पूछना है सर?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Then I think we can conclude now.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your inputs and also answers to the questions. I think along with inputs on careers in psychology, we have benefited more in terms of how we can contribute to in a certain manner to our own careers and also that of kids. Although you might say that we don't have to take that amount of responsibility, they'll take care of themselves, but still we'll at least allow them to explore better. I think in the process.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much, Shilpi ma'am. I'll share coordinates of Jiya ma'am with you for reference.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.